Hello and welcome to the Early Bird Special with your hosts Carole Montgomery and Julia Scotti. And now here's Carole Montgomery.
Hello everyone. Welcome to day 4,727 of the lovely and fabulous pandemic. But hey, you know what? Schools are reopening. Disney World is reopening, and like I said on social media, Florida, come for the sun, stay for the COVID. So we have a lot to talk about, and you know me, I will always continue to bitch. But I want to bring on my fabulous co-host. We have a fabulous guest, Felicia Michaels, who's one of my oldest and dearest friends in comedy. I'm hoping everyone is okay. New York is in phase 3. We are not allowed indoor dining, which is kind of a good thing. So I'm pretty excited. I'm doing a show tonight down at the Crane Theater where our Funny Women of a Certain Age premiered all those years ago. But we're doing a virtual show. So they'll actually be the comics, but then it'll be virtually streaming. So it'll be the first time I've been back on stage since this whole little shindig has started. So that's going to be fun. So if you want to watch, go to Frigid New York. I think it's frigidnewyork.com or the Crane Theater, and click on the link and you can watch me go, what the fuck is going on? Because I don't remember my act. On that note, let me bring on my fabulous co-host who just got back from Nantucket. She's had a very relaxing, fabulous time there, and I'm a little jealous of her because I'm sweltering in the New York heat. You can already see my hair is starting to dew out, but not that bad. So anyway, let me bring on fabulous Julia Scotti.
Hello, and today's show is brought to you by cat brushes. They get the hair out.
Today's show is brought to you by Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Oh.
So we have to hope, we pray every day that she stays alive.
Oh, how cool. Wait, well, you know what? We'll talk to Hoda about that when she's on.
Julia, I have some bad news.
What?
Hoda is not going to be with us this week.
No Hoda?
No Hoda. I'm sorry. I know I keep promising you Hoda, and I don't know. She's not returning my calls, so I don't know what the problem is. Because I thought she loved us when we were on the Today Show, so I don't really know.
It appeared that way, but I guess not. And I didn't get the invitation to the Hoda barbecue, the Hoedown, the Hoda Hoedown.
I did not know there was a barbecue.
There's always you gotta have a barbecue. 4th of July, Hoda Hoedown. Yeah.
I'm very.
Ooh, I heard you talk about the Crane. I'm doing my first live gig tomorrow in a theater in Delaware tomorrow and Friday. Tomorrow's Thursday, right?
Congratulations!
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Are you excited?
I didn't have it on my schedule. And then a reporter called to do an interview, and I was like, "What gig?"
Oh my God.
Anyhow, yeah. Am I excited? You know what? Here's my act. I'm sitting here like you. This is my set list, and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm gonna talk. I don't know a damn thing.
Well, here's the thing that's funny is that I'm sure you feel the same way because I haven't thought about my act. So I wrote a bunch of new material. So what I'm going to do is, because when I host the Crane, as you know, I don't really do stand up. I just host it. I talk about the show and all that stuff. So I'm bringing my notes with me, and I'm just going to, because also it's a virtual show. So there's not going to be an audience. So you're not going to hear the laughter. So I'm just going to try the jokes out just to see if they work.
Well, this actually has an audience. That's why they're doing it over 2 nights, because there's what they would normally do in one night. They're spreading the people out, so they only have half as many people, and they normally sell it out.
Wow.
So they're bringing the other half in on Friday, which you know what that means. Once we get back to doing shows, instead of doing 3 shows a night, we'll do 9.
9, yes.
We'll start at 2 in the afternoon.
Yes, but you have to be careful because, well, I don't know if it's the same thing in New Jersey as it is in New York, but the governor, I think Delaware is on the list of where you're supposed to self-quarantine if you go into the state. So just check. So you don't, and not that you're going out and doing many things.
I'm not. And everybody's got to wear a mask. And I'll just say, you know, I've been living in Delaware since 1958. I'm good.
All right. Listen, I'm very excited about bringing on our guest tonight, tomorrow. Felicia and I go back. The two of us were the original Dirty Girls in comedy with a few other women like Sheila Kay and Stephanie Hodge and Thea Vidal. And we've been friends for a very, very long time. And I just want to plug her. She has a show called The Liars Club, which is a great podcast, which I've done. And she'll tell you where. I think she said Amazon. Oh no, that's the solo show. The solo show is called The Whole Story, and it's a really. She has such an amazing story. You know, when you look at us as comics, you never know our backstory. You know, and so it's for people who have been fans of Felicia to find out what her life was beforehand is always amazing. Sort of, kind of like what happened with your fabulous documentary.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's did really, really well. I watched Disclosure on Netflix the other night too. If you get a chance, see that documentary because it's all about trans people in show business.
Oh, good. I shall do that.
Yeah, it's really excellent.
And it's on Netflix.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Disclosure.
So let's bring on Felicia Michaels, everyone. Hello.
Hello, Felicia Michaels.
How are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, I realized I was like, well, you know, we had Kathy Ladman and she, you know, obviously is in LA too. And I was like, let's have Felicia, you know, because I think you have a lot to say about all the shit that's happening in this world right now.
Crazy, right? Right? Can you believe it? So crazy.
It's the fact that today, what was that? The Betsy DeVos is basically demanding to reopen up schools in the fall.
Yeah.
I don't understand that at all.
I don't understand it either. My son is going to Sarah Lawrence, and they're giving people the option whether they're only allowing us. You have to enter a lottery to even come learn on campus, and then or you can choose to enter a lottery. I'm sorry, to get a dorm, or you can go back to New York and find a place with some other people. And we're just like, why would you want to get on a plane?
Yeah.
Like the comedians on planes, like they're filming a drive-in movie theater thing in Pasadena Rose Bowl, and I know some people are doing that. But I also know they've been to Oklahoma in the last couple of weeks and all these different places, and it's like that's scary.
Well, Carole, remember we were going to drive to Texas. We weren't going to fly.
Yeah, we were supposed to do a show in Dallas. Yeah. And we were seriously thinking about getting in a car and driving the 2 days to get there because we didn't want to go on a plane. You know, I don't know if it's people just don't like. I'm at a loss for words because I cannot understand why people are not taking any of this seriously. There would be the fact that we closed down the country for a reason. I know the right side says it's because, you know, we wanted to get after El Duce, but we closed it because there was a pandemic. You know, like at one point, because I wasn't sure if Julia would, you know, any of the other women were going to want to come to this date. I was going to go on a plane and I was going to get a hazmat suit and goggles and, you know, so it's amazing. And you heard about DL Hughley.
Oh, please. And then Brandon Schaub.
Wait, I missed it. What happened?
He got COVID, and then Brendan Schaub and Brian Callen got it, and then I think their openers got it, and it's too much.
Yeah,
it's like
were they on the road? Oh, that's right. I remember seeing DL.
Yeah, DL was in DL was in Zanies.
Zanies, yeah, right. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
So have you done? I know you've done a lot of the Zoom shows, Felicia. Have you?
I've done a few. You know, I was kind of holding off, and then it's like, well, this is going to be a problem for a while in LA. So it was like, I might as well break down and do them. And you know what? It's fine. It's like doing a theater gig. Like, you know, when you do like a 2,000 seater,
right?
You can't really judge the laughter. You just have to keep your pace.
Yeah.
Can't slow down to keep that pace, right? So it's kind of like that.
Yeah, I mean, Julia, did you finally do one also? A Zoom show?
I did the one at Stress Factory where we were in the club and there were about 15, 20 people, and it was being streamed out. So it was sort of a quasi semi-hybrid Zoom kind of thing.
I just don't see how we're going to like the day, like when I think of, and we've all done this, we've all been in the comedy condos and we've all been in those clubs. I don't see a way back to like packed houses and the seats.
It'll be a while. I think it'll be like in the spring it'll start eking out again.
Yeah.
I mean, I do believe that, but this is gonna be something that's, I think, gonna probably be around for a while. So
Yeah.
Well, a lot has to do with testing of these vaccines now. That they're, once they start getting into the 30,000 plus test volunteers, then they're coming close to finding a vaccine. So.
Right, but then you get all the people that are like, I'm not taking the vaccine because Bill Gates put a chip in it, and you're like, oh my God,
Then don't take it, fuckface.
Yeah.
Don't take it.
Thank you. Then you put them on the plane.
Yeah.
Right.
Send them all to South Dakota where they can live, wherever they want to fucking live.
What bothers me is, and I've had to do this so many times now, and I'm so pissed off at people that it's like they don't get that our business, and when I say our business, I mean live entertainment, that our business is decimated right now.
100%.
I mean, and that, and both of you know, my husband works on Broadway, and Broadway's not coming back till 2021, and my son works in music venues, and nothing's coming back. Like everything we know as our whole lives isn't coming back to the way we wanted it, and yet I still can't understand when people go, I'm not going to wear a mask, or it's a hoax, and I mean, like how I said this in another interview yesterday. I said, if the Democrats are that good that they got the entire world to pull this off, well, then why aren't we in charge?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Think about this, though. Think about this. If God willing, Joe Biden wins, you're going to have a really qualified doctor as the first lady. You don't think she's going to organize this country, whip it into shape, and beat this thing? I guarantee it. And that's what they ought to have her out there touting right now.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
My son is a Bernie guy, and he's like, Joe Biden, and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, let me ask you a question. When your parents are fucking around and no one's taking care of you, who comes in? Grandma and grandpa. And Joe Biden, the grandpa, is going to bring all these grandmas and aunties, and they're going to fucking clean house.
Oh, but you know what? My kid's a Bernie bro, but he understands. Like we've had the discussion. I said, look, I understand you wanted Bernie, but after having, they're really going to, let's just talk about the anti-Semitism. Do you think if Bernie, this country's going to elect a Jewish man to be president after 40 years of this guy? No.
Well, they probably already have, but just no one's saying it.
They already had a gay president. Who was it? Was it Buchanan or one of those presidents? The guy that never got married.
Yeah.
And he had a longtime companion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
my son is a Bernie bro too, and we had that talk, and I said basically what you said, Felicia. You're gonna have to get over it. I said, I wanted a pony when I was a kid, but I didn't get that either. And
I think it's like when you do, like when you get divorced. I had the best advice I ever got from a divorce attorney was actually the mediator in our divorce. And he was like, you have a good divorce when both people feel cheated when they leave.
That's a good point.
That is a good point. That is a great point. So let's talk about comedy, because Felicia's been around as long as we have, Julia. And we always like to talk about can you remember what your worst road gig ever was? Or do you have a few?
Well, they're bad in different ways, I think. Okay. One time, and I was married at the time, and I probably was in my late 20s, and I was working in Cincinnati, and I think it was Go Bananas. And the manager came to pick me up, and I came in for a big surprise. What is that? Valentine's Day. Came in for Valentine's Day, right? It's all, you always come in for Valentine's Day or Super Bowl weekend when all the women, that kind of shit, right? Especially back in the day.
Yep.
And the guy comes to pick me up. I came the night before, when you have to get up real early and do radio, like at 6 a.m. So sometimes he'll come the night before, and he picks me up. And he's driving me, and and he starts, there's a couple times stuff like this would happen. And he starts kind of being racist about the people in Cincinnati. And so, and like, just really like, don't do educated jokes and like stuff, you know what I mean? Like that, right? And like, don't you know what my comedy is? No worries, right? Back in the day, especially, right? Now I try to mix it up a little more. But so then I said to him, can you please, I'm here to do a good week. It's fucking Valentine's Day. Let's, I don't want to have a preconceived notion about how the audiences suck. But I was being nice about it, like, hey, well, I'm sorry to hear that, but we'll have, like little Miss fucking cheerleader, right? And then he gets mad at me, and I don't know how to fix it in the car, because when you fly into Cincinnati, I think you actually have to fly into Kentucky or something like that, and the airport is actually in the next state because it's closed or something like that, and it's like an hour away. And then the next morning he comes to pick me up. I'm supposed to be downstairs at 5:30. And he doesn't come till 6:30, right? So I've been sitting there for an hour. So now I'm pissed because I flew fucking in just to do a radio thing. And so, but I'm like, gonna be a good person. I get in the car, and then I don't say anything, and then I, let a little time go by, and then I'm like, hey, I'm really sorry. We kind of got off on the wrong foot, he goes, I don't want to talk about it, right? So I'm like, oh, Jesus, right? So we get to the radio station. It's such a stupid story. We get to the radio station. Everything's fine on the radio station. They asked me to stay longer, like it's going so well, right? And then I can see his face. He's sitting in the thing, right? And they're like, do another segment. And then we have like 5 minutes. And I said, hey, I get that you're mad at me, and let's fix it after this. Sell some tickets. And I see that you're angry with me, and I just want to have a good time. Would you mind just, he wasn't on the mic or anything, would you mind just, so we can just get this over with, right? So he leaves, and I figure everything's fine. He didn't seem mad. And then afterwards, shake everyone's hand, blah, blah, blah. I get in his car. He loses his shit, right? Wow. And I didn't know where I was. It was Valentine's Day. And Carole, I will say this about myself. I will tolerate some shit. I will but then when I'm done, I'm fucking done. Like, so and now I don't know where I'm at. It's snowing, and this motherfucker's yelling at me. And so I was literally like, pull this fucking car over. Like, I just can't be in your presence anymore. I get out. I called my ex-husband, who was my booking agent at the time. And what does a husband say whenever you have an issue, Carole Montgomery? What's the first thing they say?
Fix it yourself.
What did you do?
Yes.
But there are a lot of times like that. Absolutely. A lot of times where, especially back in the day where you were around a lot of men where they just don't want to hear your shit. And when I say don't want to hear your shit, they just don't want to hear you have an opinion of any kind, or that you're here for fucking business.
Well, yeah, and also in that same, what happens is because there were, back when we were, when this was all going on, there were maybe six of us that got headlining gigs. Out of, if there's 52 weeks a year, maybe one or two women. So you're fighting for the fact that you want to get rebooked even before that. So you want to just sit there and just be like, okay, sure. It's so funny that you said that. I've told the story, so I won't get into it. But there was an incident that I had in Houston, and I didn't get, and it was from my agent. It's so funny. And the first thing, the phone call, and they called from the condo, and I pick up the phone and goes, what did you do? I'm like, the same fucking thing. Like, why is it that I did something?
Yeah. But I got to jump in here, because even when I was Rick Scotty, I had an agent do that to me in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. I went down there, and this guy, Gary, well, can I mention it? Yeah,
sure.
Gary Grant, remember him?
Yeah, Gary Grant.
He books me down in Atlanta. I had to drive from Cleveland to Atlanta, and I was headlining, right? But he puts me on with this guitar act, who's like a good old boy. I mean, he had a cowboy. How do you compete with a cowboy hat in Atlanta and a guitar? And he made it really hard for me. And it was the first night, and I was really tired because I drove nonstop from Cleveland to Atlanta. So the guy calls Gary, and he says, and Gary calls me, and Gary had this, Felicia, this voice was like, hey, what happened last night? What'd you do? guy wants to fire you. And I'm like, I'm trying to explain to him. And so it turned out he gave me a second chance, and I killed for the rest of the week. And the guy was all nice to me. But at the end of the week, he was trying to shake my hand. I'm like, go fuck yourself, man. You were going to fire me on Tuesday or whatever the night was.
Right.
So what happens, it's not just limited to women, I think.
I definitely don't think that it is just limited to women, but I think how women are spoken to,
different story, yeah.
The liberties that people take. Like I had a weird, and I hadn't had a problem in a long time. And then in Vegas last year, Carole Montgomery, I'm not going to name names. I was the middle, right? And the opener was a guy I've been doing a long time like me. And literally, one of his jokes was about the Holocaust, eating pussy in the Holocaust, or some, and then it was like, and now the comedy of Felicia Michaels, right? So it's like, all right, whatever. But opening set a weird tone to the rest of the show. Like the show was not working correctly because I had to spend the first 5 to 7 minutes kind of, you know what I mean, cleansing the crowd of, when you're first one up, if you're filthy, it's kind of just, it's a
Did anybody talk to this person?
No. So then what happened is I was in the green room, right? And I was having pretty okay set. And it was just Monday night. It was Monday through Sunday. So it was like Tuesday night or Tuesday night. So I had one set. It was fine, but it was like literally 20 people in the crowd, right? And the booker comes in, I'm not going to name names, and says in front of everybody, Felicia, you're going to open the show. And I go, what? In front of everybody. And it's someone I've known for 30 years, right? And so I go after him, like he says it and then he leaves, right? He wasn't even at the show.
Wow.
He wasn't even at the show, but there was like a high roller that didn't like one of my Trump jokes or whatever it was, right? And so I went to him and I was like, why would you say that to me in front of everybody? And the problem isn't me. The problem is the first guy, because he's not laying the foundation correctly. And I had, 2 good sets in a row. I don't know what that's the liberty they take. You know what I mean? Like to say, and not just in front of the other comics, but the girlfriends, the wives, people were there. And it's like, I don't care. If I'm getting paid the same, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like,
but be discreet. Be discreet. Take the person aside and talk to them.
Yeah, but because you're too afraid to talk to the guy 2 feet taller than you about not doing 23 pussy jokes in 10 minutes before everyone else gets up.
Well, but the thing is that, and that's how I, when I was at the beginning, when I said that you and I were the original Dirty Girls. So they think that when we're on a show that they can say anything. And it's like, hey, listen, I'm not a prude in any way, but if you're gonna do 23 pussy jokes, make them funny fucking jokes.
Yeah.
You don't just say pussy or for the shock value. We always, everything we ever did with our filthy stuff as when we were younger, there was a punchline. Have a fucking punchline. So when you get these guys that do that, it infuriates me, because then we end up looking like, oh, well, why are you upset? I thought you were dirty. Well, yeah, but I'd like to follow someone that actually.
Here's the thing. Then this booker always puts the onus on me. You're too dirty. You're too dirty.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm working. The headliner's a friend of mine for 25 years. I'm not going to sit there. The booker is saying not to be dirty. The headliner, I'm not going to sink him by doing, I can, if you want to go dirty, let's do it. I do it all the time, but it was just the liberty of their way of dealing with it.
Yeah.
Was to point at the girl when the problem was not the girl. The problem was the opener, because he couldn't do it. He couldn't sit down.
How did he do when they switched you guys up?
Great. I fucking killed. And then he did good, because it was the escalation of it.
Mm-hmm.
First one up on Vegas at 7:00 at night on a Monday, and you're up there like, yeah, the swallow cost. Give me a fucking break.
I remember one time I was doing a gig. This is going back a long time. It was a Rick Messina gig. So, this is way in the back. And I forgot the comic's name. I was featuring, and his first name was Wayne. Wayne something. I forgot his last name. Yes. And I got a call from Rick Messina the next night and said, Wayne doesn't want to work with you because you're too dirty. And I said to Rick, I said, no, it's because I'm fucking stronger than he is. That's why he doesn't want to work with me. This whole thing about being dirty has followed me and Felicia our whole careers. It's like, stop.
Oh, still I get it. Still. Like, and you're just like, I've been doing political jokes and mom jokes for like half a decade, and you're just gonna focus on that? Like, give me a fucking break.
It's very frustrating when people are just like, well, you're too dirty. I'm like, really? And then I remember I had a manager that was like, I can't book you anywhere because you're too dirty. And that was when Lisa Lampanelli was big. I was like, come on.
Yeah.
I don't I never understand why they decide.
Yeah, I think what happens is once you get to a Lampanelli kind of level, everything is okay because you've established your audience. The problem with both of you is that you're fighting to build that audience that's going to come to see you because you're quote dirty.
Right. And we're not even dirty now.
Now it's like it's caught up to us. Now we're just normal.
Well, I haven't seen you, Felicia, but I know Carole. I mean, Carole's not dirty. I mean, come on.
But back in the day.
Back in the day, maybe
By the way, Vicky Koopman wanted us to know this, that clean comics are creepy.
And by the way, I worship at their feet.
So since we're talking about like cancel culture and all that stuff, so because I wanted to talk about all the stuff that was happening at the Comedy Store, because we were both Comedy Store kids, and now you've got this next generation of women who are just wanting to get rid of everybody who might possibly say something that isn't nice to women. So what do you think about that?
I have conflicted feelings about it. And I went through this period about 3 or 4 years ago where I started getting really fucking angry. And I started being very vocal about it. And then one day my friend Joey Diaz says to me, maybe if you just shut the fuck up and put that energy into your comedy, you'll be fucking bitter. And I did it. And then within 6 months, I was back at the Comedy Store as a regular.
Right.
Right. So I do think it is unfair. When I was younger, I was so overwhelmed by comedy when I first started out that I was never like a feminist. I was always like, no, this is hard for everybody. It's still part of me that feels that way. It's not for everybody. There is an unfairness, and I don't think it's just Comedy Store, because right now, the past 3 years, there's been a concerted effort to bring women into the Comedy Store, and there's more women on the lineup at the Comedy Store than any other club, showcase club in LA.
That's great.
Within, like the Laugh Factory and the Improv. There's some women. The Laugh Factory is pretty notoriously not a lot of women. And there are some, and all killers, because you have to be fucking killer to play with the mediocre guys. And I don't work there much. But that being said, I know there's a lot of people saying how full of toxic masculinity the Comedy Store is. And in a way I could see that, but it's also because I'd stopped doing comedy for a couple of years because of my kids. I was a regular at the Comedy Store at the age of 21 for many, many, many years. And you know what? When I took 9 years off and I had to go fucking stand at the back door like a fucking newbie with no one recognizing me. At once Russell Peters did, and then guys were kind of nice to me. But I had to eat the big turd again. And that there is that part of any club or any clique that it takes a while to get in. And comedy, you have your circles. And I've been lucky in my career that I've had different circles. Some people only stay in one circle, some people have 3.
Yeah, I took 9 years off too, actually 10. And when I came back, it was the same kind of situation. It wasn't a comedy club, but it was just getting work from people I had known in the past, and you were like, you're right, you're like a newbie, and I'm like,
hey, who gives a shit? You're back. You know what I mean? Like when you're starting new again like that, you got to earn it again. It's not given back to you. And then I also, when all this was kind of coming out a few weeks ago, I wrote a story about, there used to be a place here in LA called the Deli Smoker. And at the Deli Smoker, it was at the back end of a delicatessen in Encino. It really sold. And when I was 21, I had a set. And I did a joke, not a genius joke by any means, about just my boyfriend going bald. Like, who gives a fuck, right? I get off stage and in front of about 15 other comics, and I took a girl there I'd met at my acting class because I was told to take an acting class, being a comedian who couldn't act. So I was like, I better take an acting class. And she was an actress that wanted to be a comedian, so I took her there. And as I get off stage, this guy from Chicago, don't remember his name, he's bald. He comes up to me and starts yelling at me, like, hey, I did that joke 15 years ago in Chicago, right? In front of the other comics, right? And so I was like, man, if you are at the Deli Smoker after 15 years of comedy, get the fuck out, right?
Wow.
Right? So
how dare you not remember his legendary joke from Chicago 15 years ago?
Wow.
So this is like probably 25 years ago. He lunges for me, starts choking me out. And then the other comics jumped him and beat the shit out of him. And then the moral of the story is that actress that I brought to show her where to go to open mics to do comedy, she was like, yeah, I want to get in this comedy game.
Well, when all the shit hit the fan with the store a couple of weeks ago, because I was also a Comedy Store regular too. And first of all, toxic masculinity that's part of this. That's part of the business. So it's not just the store; it's every club. Okay. The only thing I saw, and I thought this was really funny, that when I was there the last time, it was what you said, is because they didn't know me. They knew that I was doing a show there, but they didn't know me. So there's all this like whose dick is bigger type of, like, the guys that run, like that is like, I remember trying to walk where you park the cars, and a guy ran out, goes, you can't walk over there. And I was like, I'm walking to the back. You can't do it. I'm a comic. Oh, sorry. I was like, guys, calm down. I know I look like a middle-aged Jewish woman, but
that's part of it, because it's like all of a sudden, who's this awkwardly aged woman?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. So
I get that when I go to clubs sometimes, and I'm standing with my feet right in front of my picture, which is on the wall. The person at the desk says, "Are you here for the show?" And I'm just like, look.
Yeah, I'm here for the show.
How could I possibly be a comic? I'm so old.
Well, I wanted to do because I'm great at titles for solo shows, and one of the titles I wanted to do for a solo show was, "Hi, I'm the comedian." You know what I mean? Because how many times have we walked into either the club or the hotel and gone, "Hi, I'm the comedian"? Because you never say your name, because they won't even know who you are then.
Well, you're getting old, because the person behind the desk goes from when you're young, they go, "Oh yeah, come on, here's your room," and then they look at you and go, "Oh," like they can't believe you're working this club.
Yeah, but it's really interesting, because I think I think the whole thing with what you both were saying about becoming newbies again, because when I came back to New York after being in Vegas for 10 years, I was doing a spot at Dangerfields, and it was the same thing. Like, all the guys were sitting at the bar and they were drinking, and they all had that. I walk in and they were like, "Who's this?" And then I went on and I did my set and I did well. And of course, as soon as I came out, it was like, "Hey, Carole, you want to have a drink?" It's like everyone has to prove whose dick is fucking bigger.
Oh yeah.
I can't do that anymore.
So, Julia, we have to ask Felicia the Cuomo question.
Oh yeah. You want to ask it this week?
Sure. Every week we ask our fabulous guests, if you had to sleep with one of the Cuomos, would it be Andrew, Chris, or Mario?
Oh, Andrew.
That's amazing. He is by far leading the poll. He's leading our poll.
Well, because we're so.
Well, he's older, so he's had a lot of practice.
And he's single too. Well, he is single, I think, right? Isn't he?
Yeah, he is single. But I think it's he handles himself. And look, there's shitty things that he does too, but he handles himself so well right now, and we're so starved for some man to actually act like a normal, empathetic person. That you watch him and you start going, ah,
yeah. It is, yeah. He'd be fun to cuddle with. I don't think
I'd make him cook for me because I think.
Yes.
I'd make him eat some puss and jump the fuck off. That's what I think.
Wow.
Sorry, I'm bored. I'm so bored.
This
whole thing.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's.
I'm trying to picture that first date though. Andrew comes over to Felicia's house, and it's like, "Well, what do you want to do, Felicia?" And she's like, "Eat the puss and jump the fuck off." And then cook for me.
More, Julia.
Huh? I missed that. What?
I would work up to that a little more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think she would. Let's see. Do you want to? Who inspired you, Felicia? Like, do you have like a famous or non-famous person that you looked up to in comedy?
Oh, in comedy?
Or in general in life?
Yeah. Huh, that's a good question. Who do I look up to in comedy? Well, if it's a serious question of who do I look up to in comedy, I'm going to say Laurie Kilmartin. And I'm going to say that because I watched Laurie, by the way, writes for Conan and is a headliner and wrote a very funny book about 45 jokes about my dead dad. And she did a comedy special about 3 years ago based on that same topic matter, which became on a lot of top 10 lists. I mean, I don't know who's listening. You might want to go. She and hey, I don't mean to bring up my friend Joey Diaz again, but he actually said to me the other day, man, that Laurie Kilmartin, like, people, you can say a lot of things about the Comedy Store, but when they fucking recognize, you know what I mean? I'm not talking about the booker there, because the Comedy Store is a different animal. It's about hanging out. It's about whether you kind of fit in that environment.
Right.
And I don't see that changing, although so many young people are coming in now and a lot of women. But what I liked about Laurie is I was watching her and Jackie's podcast the other day, and they were talking about everything that was going on. And she said, I saw the Joe Rogan and Joey Diaz thing. And I could see definitely, I'm paraphrasing obviously, but the whole gist of what she was saying is I get that people see that as wrong, but to my eyes, because I'm a comedian, I just see it as dickheads.
Could you just expand on for people that are watching that don't know about the Joe Rogan thing? Just explain what happened.
Joe Rogan on his podcast like 12 years ago had my friend Joey Diaz, very funny comic, on, and Joey is making a joke about drinking and making some girl suck his dick to get on stage, right? And
who hasn't done that?
Like, please, no. And so they all laughed, and so as a comic that's been in the game for a while, you're like, they're just being dummies and whatever, and so what? Yeah, they should get spanked a little bit. Let's fucking move on. But it became such a big thing because of Joe Rogan, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I really love that she comes from comedy in a different way. Like back in the day, she's maybe a few years younger than me, not by many.
Right.
And there were people came about comedy in different ways. You came from the street, kind of, which Carole and I, even though Carole went to college or whatever, and or people who came through college or university in a different way to do comedy, right? Like and the people, to me, I'm not always right. The people that came from the street came in that way, were more character driven. Maybe the writing wasn't as fucking precious as you would want. And people like Laurie came from a more intellectual way.
Right.
but what I love about her and what why I look up to her is that she's able to have the path in between. Like she did her Conan set. She did a Conan set that's flawless, masterful. Like, every 15 seconds, punch, punch, punch. But she can hold her own in a room, and she sees it like how I think it should be seen in my little world. She really understands it.
You make a really interesting point, and I never thought about it before, about the street comic versus and I call them the yales, because it seemed like for a while everybody that was writing a TV show, they all knew each other and they all went to Yale. And I never fit in there. I'm a street comic too.
Right. And there are exceptions like Red Giraldo, Rich Scheidner, although they come from university or college, or Geraldo was like a lawyer or something.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, just interesting, and they all seem to bond together, the street comics and the Yaleys. It's interesting.
Yeah, because in some ways, but back in the day, it was. I do think that they do absolutely. We all get along together, no matter.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But it's seen through a different set of eyes. Like when the alternative comedy scene came up, that was through a lot of college kids intellectually getting into comedy and studying this and that, where during that period not so much. It was
interesting.
Like people took camps. Like you were never in the alternative comedy scene.
Me?
Neither one of us were.
I'm kind of in the alternative comedy scene,
So it's funny that you said that, because my son, I want to ask the both of you about this, but my son, for the longest time, I mean, he has his views of which comics he thinks are funny. But whenever he talks about my comic, he goes, "Oh, Mom, you're just loud and you make faces." And I'm like, fuck you very much. So what have your children said about your comedy? Julia, want to go first?
Yeah, my son in particular, who was in, he writes and performs. I don't think he wants to hurt my feelings. He just kind of. I think I remind him of Jan Murray, the kind of, that to him I'm old school, and he's the new wave.
What about you, Felicia?
I'm really lucky because my ex-husband is in the business. So my kids have seen comedy from so many different angles.
Right.
Is he a comic, Felicia? Is he?
On the business end of it.
Oh, okay.
And he has a lot of clients, and they're pretty friendly with a lot of comedians. So I think because of that, they see it a little bit differently, and they think I'm funny, and I know, like I've heard them share secretly when they were younger with their friends, like, here's a video of my mom, weird. You know what I mean? But I'm not their favorite comic.
Yeah, you're never gonna be. No.
You're never gonna be the favorite. Lane's favorite. And he's not really a comedian. Who's the guy that hosts Comedy Bang Bang? What's his name?
Chris.
Not Chris Hardwick. Oh, I forgot his name. Pete something.
Paul Tompkins is on there a lot.
He's on there.
Paul Tompkins, that's my son's idol, Paul.
So he to him, if I got on comedy, I have 2 Showtime specials, but that doesn't mean anything. If I got on Comedy Bang Bang, he'd be like, "Okay, my mother's finally been accepted." It's amazing how they think.
I know Paul, and I told my son that because he brought him up one day. I was like, "Paul Tompkins, yeah, I've known Paul for since he was in Philly," and he was like, Paul. Yeah, but I'm one of his peers, not.
I know, but they don't understand that because they don't understand that I always talk about the time that when Judd Apatow first started to hit and all the movies and everything, and I remember driving to, it was some contest at the San Diego Improv, some comedy contest. Judd was driving. It was me and Sheila Kay. We got stuck in the traffic on I think it's the 5. No, what is it? The 405 that goes down to San Diego, Felicia?
Well, they both can, but the 5.
Right.
Yeah.
So we were doing 90 to get there. And of course, who the doorman was at the San Diego Improv at that time? Your ex-husband. So it was
Do
like,
I know your ex-husband? Do I know him?
Maybe.
What's his name?
Well, I'll tell you off camera.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't realize. I'm sorry.
Nothing weird. It's just
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I'm sorry. I didn't mean.
nothing weird.
But and it was just, and I remember saying to him, I remember saying that to my son. I said, "Yeah, I know Judd." And he was like, "You know him?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he was a terrible comic. He was, I mean, thank goodness he, huh?
He wasn't a good comic.
No, and he's a great writer. He's a great producer. But and it's just funny because, like you said, Julia, there are peers, but they don't understand that. They just kind of like, whoa,
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, like I've been lucky that my kids already, they see everyone, so because
Are they grown? They
are 19 and 21.
Okay, yeah, they're
home now because of this.
You seem so happy, Felicia.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I haven't. My son is a germaphobe, so he was a germaphobe before this. So we hadn't seen each other for 3 months, and he finally came to visit us, and he was wearing gloves and goggles, because the subway is just, because he lives in Brooklyn now, of course, because that's where everybody fucking lives, is in Brooklyn. But so it's funny because we moved him March 1st. We helped him move out because he was living with his girlfriend. He moved out, and like literally 2 weeks later, I would have loved to have had him there, but you have two, so I understand why you do.
It's yeah. I know, you guys. I kicked my son in the balls.
Oh man!
And you know what? It was fucking. I heard angels sing.
You know what? I think we're gonna leave on that joke because I think that is a perfect way to end that. That was
go out until the virus. Like I was trying to. He wanted to go get some weed. I'm like, your ass is staying here, bitch. You know what I mean?
Felicia is such a great mom, but the fact that the people watching, that is one of the truest moments of motherhood you're ever gonna fucking see, is what she just did, because I've never gotten to the point where I've kicked him there, but there have been times where I'm like, motherfucker, I'm going to stab you.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go to jail. Yeah.
You guys have a great idea for your podcast. I'm happy for you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a lot of fun doing it. I mean, and the reason I did it is because I was so shell-shocked. I still am. I was so shell-shocked about what has happened to our business, and I didn't do anything for 6 weeks. I just was like, oh my God, and then I thought, I get to put makeup on. I take a shower. To me, it gives me something to look. But being a comedian, you'll appreciate this because we're all inherently lazy. Every Wednesday morning, I go, motherfucker, I have to do the TV show.
I know.
You want to know something? I do too. I was talking to somebody this morning. I go, I got this fucking show.
I took a shower for this shit.
Yeah.
No. All right, well, ladies, we should go because we're getting up onto an hour. Felicia, follow her on all social media. Julia, follow her.
So nice to meet you, Felicia.
And bye, Julia Scott. Hello, boys. I'm back.
Are you on Uproar Records?
Yes. Are you?
Too, yeah.
Well, this one is on Uproar. My next one's going to be on 800-Pound Gorilla, but God knows when that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Hey, Uproar. Yep. How'd you know that?
Because I just was skimming through the site or whatever they had going on, and I saw your face.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Felicia, I think you need to write. I think I'm going to chip in and get you a T-shirt that says "Eat the puss and get the fuck off." I think that everybody who is watching the show. Oh, this is what Basil said. You remember Basil? Yeah. Great title for Felicia's biography.
Hey, Basil.
All right, ladies. Thank you very much. I love you both. Stay safe, and hopefully we get to see each other in a comedy club soon. Everybody, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.